I was talking to a friend today about the whole, well, not the whole, but, just it came up, the thing about the Middle East. And obviously on a day where Israel and United Arab Emirates signed some kind of deal that was brokered by Trump, you think, well, that kind of sparks passions, because it's such a tinderbox of emotion and unfairness and history and, the way governments and the way the world operates. It's a nightmare, really, to try and sort out the Middle East. I visited Israel maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was a good visit. I enjoyed it. I got to see Jerusalem, and that was truly an incredible experience. Just a place full of myth and legend and history, and obviously a lot of passion, but also a lot of hatred, in a sense. Well, in a strange way, there are a lot of people there in that little town living their faith, living their culture very separately from other people, suspicious of the other people, but in fact living together in close quarters and having done so for thousands of years, or at least many hundreds of years. And I was trying to kind of puzzle how, seeing it for myself, how you could solve the Middle East, apart from writing a utopian novel. Maybe, is there any other kind of way of solving the problem there? And as I was driving in the taxi from Jerusalem back down to Tel Aviv airport, and I was having a kind of chat with the taxi driver, and he was full of bile, full of hatred. But I think he was like a tank driver in various wars 20 years before, and he was just describing the Palestinians, which were on the other side of this barbed wire fence. You could see the land that was dividing between the state of Israel and Palestine. And he said, they're just animals, they're not humans. And I guess that's the only way you can hate people, is by considering them subhuman. And so it struck me that the solution to the Middle East crisis was complex. And my idea at the time, and I wrote it down at the time, and I've put it to a few people, but my idea is that you'd have to have a 2,000-year program where the various parliaments and peoples agreed that the schools were to be mixed from then on, so that they would teach each other's cultures and teach each other's religions, and ensure that the kids became friends at a very, very young age. And then they would go to university together, and eventually they would, the differences would be disappearing, and after 2,000 years there would be peace in the Middle East. I don't know, it's a long-term program, but I guess, so I don't know about this. I get very wary when passions are sparked by something as odd as an arrangement between one Arabic government and the Israeli government. I find it very difficult territory to tread, because as soon as you criticize Israel, you're described as an anti-Semite. And I'm definitely not. I have fantastic Jewish friends, and I'm definitely not anti-Jewish, and I recognise the incredible horror that people has been through with the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, and the incredible hatred that they've had to endure. On the other hand, as a country, it's kind of surprising and ironic that they're now treating the Palestinian people with such subhuman qualities, or treating them as beneath them somehow, in terms of claiming land more and more, settling more, these very sophisticated cities, and making it such incredibly difficult for the Palestinian people to have the dignity of a state, the dignity of their own government. And it's a terrible irony, and obviously a very, very complex problem. And somebody as silly as me probably won't solve it, but we'll see what people make of any utopian novels coming out. But I really am wary of being overreacting one way or the other, of labeling governments or labeling a people as bad. We all have to recognise the humanity that's so important to try and raise people up and let them have dignity and let them have economic prosperity. And I know security is very important. You know, if you're living in fear, and this is where some of the paranoia of the Jewish state comes about, is the atrocities that have happened to them in the past, and even in the more recent past, not just the Holocaust, but also more recently. But on the other hand, they perpetrate indignities on a people as well. So somehow there has to be compromise and there has to be goodwill. I know it's not easy. I wish the Middle East good luck.